Millions of men don't even realize they have corn brain until it's too late. Take this quick test to find out if you're addicted and what it's doing to your mind. Okay, so here's how it works. I'm gonna go through the 4 major brain changes that pornography causes and the symptoms that come along with these changes. Your job is to count how many of the symptoms that you have. At the end, we're gonna count up your score, evaluate it, and determine what it means for your brain and your future. The first change is called desensitization. Another way to think of this is tolerance. So you need more stimulation to get the same result. Your brain has experienced desensitization if the type of content you watch today is more intense than when you first started. The frequency that you watch content is higher today than when you first started. You require greater stimulation to experience sexual arousal. You experience erectile dysfunction despite being relatively healthy. You experience delayed ejaculation because being with a real person doesn't provide the same level of stimulation as pornography. You watch niche content. You watch content that disgusts or disturbs you. There are 7 symptoms in this category. How many did you have? Write down your score and let's move on to the next one. The second change is hypofrontality. You have a structure at the very front of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. It gives you a sense of self, it helps you make good decisions, and really it's what separates us from all the other animals. Hypofrontality means reduced activity, reduced circulation, and sometimes even a reduction in the size of this part of your brain. Now, your brain has experienced hypofrontality if you lack confidence, you have low self-esteem, low impulse control, trouble delaying gratification, prefer quick fixes and instant results, prioritize convenience above everything else, no vision for life, no sense of long-term thinking, no sense of self or who you really are, and a lingering sense that it's not okay to be me. There are 10 symptoms in this category. How many of these did you have? Write it down and let's move on to the next one. The third is sensitization. Another way to think of this is having cravings or having cues that kind of trigger you and cause you to think about porn even though they're not really related. Now, your brain has experienced sensitization if seeing ordinary people reminds you of actresses or content that you've watched before. Non-sexual items or objects trigger you. Throughout a normal day, you experience random spikes in desire to watch pornography. You want porn, but you don't necessarily like it. Your brain associates things with pornography that are seemingly unrelated. There are 5 symptoms in this category. How many did you have? Write down your number and let's go to the last one. The fourth change is a reduced stress response. So you want to think of this as a lower capacity to handle stress within your life. Now, your brain has experienced a reduced stress response if you experience brain fog. You're unable to handle normal levels of stress. Increased anxiety. Lower working memory. So an example of this would be that you go to look for something and while you're looking for it, you forget what you're looking for. Or you start off talking about something and halfway through, you forget the point that you were trying to make. Lower empathy, poor connection with loved ones. Constantly in fight or flight mode. Unable to relax or properly unwind. There are 7 symptoms in this category. How many of these did you have? Write down your number and let's go to the last stage. So now it's time for the moment of truth. I want you to go ahead and add up your total score. Now, I do want to clarify that before I show you what your final score actually means, this should not be considered a diagnostic or medical advice. This is just a guideline to give you an idea of your current situation. If you scored less than 8, your brain might have been impacted by pornography, but not significantly. If you scored between 8 and 14, then your brain has definitely been impacted by pornography and its effects are visible to some extent. Now, the good news here is a little bit of action will go a long way for you, and it probably won't require that much to actually reverse the effects and get your life back on track. If you scored between 15 and 22, you have porn brain. If you continue down this path without intervention, you can expect to see a rapid decline in your relationships, your productivity, and your overall quality of life. Now, if you scored above 22, you have porn brain and you are experiencing major limitations in your relationships, sex life, productivity, motivation, and overall satisfaction in life. If you want to turn your life around, you need to do everything in your power to get help and quit ASAP. Now, if this test was an eye-opener for you, then you need to see what happens when somebody actually quits porn for good. So I know this can be a little bit overwhelming, but there's hope for everyone. If you're really serious about getting help and want to find out what some next steps are, I put a video together that explains exactly how to do that. Click on that, and I'll see you there.